Hello, Bible readers. It is Thursday, February 18th. We're reading from 1 Kings chapters 12 through 14 and 1 Corinthians chapter 6 through chapter 7, verse 16. I'm going to start with 1 Kings. Now the kingdom divides into Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Judah is led by King Rehoboam and Israel Jeroboam. Of course, Rehoboam is foolish and oppressive. God raises up Jeroboam with high hopes, and then Jeroboam starts doing his own things, heretical things, and that brings judgment and death on his own family. The point of this whole section is God is in charge. That doesn't mean it's all going to go well, but God's in charge, and that's the primary message. I mostly want to talk about 1 Corinthians, though, today. Yesterday, we talked about how a Christian community needs to hold each other accountable as a part of a healthy fellowship in chapter 5. Today, in chapter 6, Paul is saying, make sure to keep these accountability arguments to yourselves. Our conflicts in the church are ours. We don't want to confuse other people or cause stumbling blocks to others who are just looking in on us. Obviously, Paul didn't live in an internet age or a place in time where there was a free public press that was after juicy stories, right? Much harder nowadays to keep our own disagreements to ourselves. Then I wanted to get into this discussion of body in chapter 6. I've got an extended reading here for my commentary. Today, we tend to think of having a body. We might even find ourselves talking about our bodies as if they were another one of our possessions. For Paul, humans don't have bodies, they are bodies. Soma, that's the Greek word Paul uses here, means body in the sense of one's self. That is who you are. It's later Christianity, after Paul, and no longer dependent upon him, that fell to thinking of human beings as composed of body and some more valuable inner spark that might be termed soul or spirit. Paul's Jewishness comes through handsomely in his understanding of body as who a person is. Therefore, it is Paul who, when he wants to talk about God's enduring commitment to individuals, speaks of the phrase that impacts our creed's resurrection of the body. Paul's is a lofty and holistic view of the self. Lofty because one's present self, as is loved and cherished by God and will be preserved by God. And holistic because Paul thinks of the human as a whole integrated being who is not only part of the new creation, but also the object of God's redeeming love. So redemption is not the salvaging of some inner, perhaps purer essence of the individual. It's the saving of the whole being. Soma is not simply flesh for Paul. One is soma. Paul's profound notion of body as self, as who you are, raises issues for our understanding of how we treat our bodies. That is, for how we treat ourselves. Smoking and drugs, like the lack of exercise. These are abuses not only of this container that we live in, but abuses of our very selves, the selves that God has made us to be. Paul believes in a such greater connection between body and self. In fact, it's not just a connection, they're the same thing. And I think that might resonate with us a bit more than to think of, well, our bodies, we just shed those, leave those in the ground that decompose, and then our soul, like somehow flits away. That idea, the soul and the flitting away stuff, it's not scriptural. Okay, what else did I... Oh, chapter 7, husbands and wives. Paul's presumption is that humans are sexual creatures, for whom sexual passion is expressed in marriage. We in the 21st century, we separate sex and sexuality. Oh, there's so much to talk about here. So basically, in one part of Corinthians, we've got stuff to talk about where we could talk about the soul and the body. We could do that for months. And then there's this big conversation about sex and sexuality. Paul's not afraid to just Go for it. Take it on. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.